obviously we have a very special big turnout today. I think a few people knew who our guest speaker was. Before I get to our guest speaker, I got to get to the guy that actually is responsible for our guest speaker, and that is freeholder Richard DuHaime, sitting right here. Tell you, the freeholder DuHaime always had his priorities right as an elected official, and he certainly had his priorities right in raising his family, namely his son sitting next to me, Mike. We are so proud about Mike. He is one of our own, and he has risen to the very, very top of Republican politics in this country. And it is, I have to tell you, I'm thrilled with the fact that he was able to get here and give us a little background about what he's been doing and various campaigns he's worked on. Mike, first of all, now is working for Mercury Enterprises, Mercury Public Affairs. Mercury Public Affairs. He is a consultant to the Christie campaign. He has done an outstanding job in campaign after campaign that he's been involved with. And I have to tell you, I am very, very happy and proud to call him my friend and our friend. And let's give him a nice warm welcome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's nice to be home. As God said, I was born and raised in Passaic County. My dad's here, and I learned a ton about politics. And I've been fortunate, really fortunate, over the last 10 or 12 years to be involved in a lot of campaigns around the country and a lot in New Jersey around the country. But I learned, I think it's all somewhere buried up here because of my life and upbringing in Passaic County and being involved in politics. My dad, not only a freeholder, was also our municipal chairman in Bloomingdale for a long time, and there were a lot of Republican club meetings around the kitchen table that I would kind of try to sit in and listen and see if I could hear, what argument was going on at the time. And I learned a ton about politics because when I was growing up, our town was a 7-0 Democrat town. It was a Democrat mayor. My dad was a councilman for a while, but there was a time at one point where it was 7-0 Democrat mayor, Democrat council people, and I think my dad, as municipal chair, wanted to fix that, and so he asked the most popular woman in town, my mom, to run the council. And I don't know if my mom's not really involved too much on the political side of things, but was always involved in the town. And my parents were small business owners in town, and involved in sports, involved in the church. My mom started some foundation to help stray animals get homes. So if you had a dog or a cat in our town for 25 years, you got it from my mom, basically, because she was helping every stray animal get homes. And so she ran, and she won, and then she ran for mayor, and she won again for mayor. Probably could have been mayor forever, but it was a really great learning experience for me because I realized that so much about politics is not about necessarily, I'm a Republican, you're a Democrat, let's just line up against each other. Because if that were the case, she never would have won. We never would have won in Bloomingdale. And I realized people were voting for her, for lots of reasons other than your partisan makeup, but because all the good things they've done, whether it was being involved in the church or schools or, or sports or small business or helping, puppies get homes instead of being put to sleep. Things like that mattered, and it helped transcend it. So it really was something I learned a lot, and I realized when I got involved in some more national politics, that there's something unique about New Jersey and something unique about this part of New Jersey too. If you grow up running in what is a tough area and a tough county in terms of Democrat to Republican registration, and you're always battling, and every single election is a fight. You learn how to fight pretty well, and you learn how to campaign pretty hard, and you learn that you have to do things not only to keep everybody in your camp happy. You need to make sure that not only bring all the Republicans to the poll, but you got to win a lot of independents. You got to win some Democrats as well, or else you're just not going to be successful. So it really has benefited me a great deal. So I think we have a great opportunity this year. I'm working for Christie. He's a fantastic person, fantastic individual, really got a nice family, 4 kids, really good. But I think most importantly, as our U.S. attorney, he's a tough, no-nonsense guy, and he did a really good job for 7 years. And he took on corrupt public officials of both parties, very bipartisan, and certainly in that approach. And over 130 convictions and 0 acquittals on public corruption. Also had some very high-profile terrorism cases. Stopped some would-be arms dealers from buying over-the-shoulder rockets to try to pick off planes landing at Newark Airport. He was very involved in the Fort Dix terrorism attack that they were able to thwart. Chris was involved from the very beginning, but he also did some things like take on some corporate polluters who were dumping illegally in the Delaware River and the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, he has got a very solid record across the board. And I think the best part about that record is reflected. He basically just went in and every day he tells me why the U.S. Attorney job is so great, because he just said you just go in every day and you figure out what's right and what's wrong, and you just do what's right. And so many jobs that we, positions we all have, there's all these different politics and all the stuff that goes into it. He basically says it's really easy. You're free from politics. You just do what's right, and everything else takes care of itself. And it wasn't always easy for me. I was the executive director of the state party in 2002, shortly after Chris became U.S. Attorney. My first trip down to like this big national meeting, the Republican National Committee had this meeting. All 50 states come in, all 50 state party chairs, all 50 state party executive directors, the national committee people from all the states. It's a big deal. It's shortly after the president's been reelected. It's early 2002. The party's flying high. My first meeting with all these national folks. I'm just trying to hope that I can hold my own and not embarrass the state or anything like that. The first morning I'm down there, the phone rings, and our leading candidate for U.S. Senate at that time was Jim Treffinger, and his home and office got raided by the FBI that morning. And so I had a lot of people like from Louisiana coming up to me telling me how corrupt New Jersey was. And, I was like, you're from Louisiana. I didn't really have a leg to stand on at that moment. I didn't really have a case I could make. And I was running around trying to say, don't worry, we'll still win the U.S. Senate race. I don't know how, but we will. Trust me. And we eventually got Bob Torres to drop out. But the court intervened and got Frank Lautenberg back in that year. So that was a tough year. That was a tough one. But I think we have a great opportunity this year. John Corzine has not done a good job as governor. And I think in many ways, this is a guy who spent $120 million over 2 election cycles. I'm sure he'll spend oodles and oodles of dollars this year as well. But he's a known commodity now. It's a little easier when people don't know you. You can tell everybody everything you want about yourself and spend $60 or $70 million doing it. Now people know who he is. He ran as a Wall Street executive who would clean up Trenton and clean up the finances of the state. And he's brought kind of Wall Street finances to the state. We've seen what's happened. So not exactly Wall Street, not quite popular as it was 4 years ago when he ran. And he's just done a poor job as governor. I think most people who know him actually think he's a nice guy who's well-intentioned and well-meaning. Not quite the same as Jim Florio, where you had this kind of anger for Jim Florio. I think a lot of people who know Governor Corzine think he's a nice guy who's well-intentioned, but just ineffective. And the word I hear more than anything else when I go around the state and talk about John Corzine, people use the word disappointed, and that they had high expectations for this guy. He has an inability to move the ball from kind of point A to point B. And I think with Chris, you have quite the opposite. He's somebody who's very effective, understands how to get things done, do things really well. So I'm happy to talk about that race. I've been lucky enough to be involved in a lot of races over the years. I've been lucky enough to fly on Air Force One a couple times and hang out in the Oval Office a few times. So it's a really unique. It's been fun the last few years. It's been tough. Spent a lot of time in D.C., a lot of time on the road. But I'm back home now. It's great to be back. And I'm happy to talk about any political races, and happy to talk about. I've gotten a lot of good fights with Chris Matthews over the years on the air, and those are kind of fun too. It's unique and fun. I'm happy to just talk about what other people want to talk about.
You take time out to breathe?
Not a lot. I don't take a lot of time.